Hi everyone. So today we are meeting for the launch of the book, The Power of Make Believe Parenting Through Pretend Play, authored by Sugar Merchant Doshi. And this is in association with Crossword India and Crossword Bookstore, Penguin India. And I'm really excited to be doing this because this book is truly aligned with my philosophy that the best learning happens through play. I'm Riddhi Deorah, a parenting coach and influencer, and I'm on a mission to help 100,000 parents live a happy, holistic, and spiritual life. I'll be moderating the event today. So let me quickly introduce you to the author. The author of this book is Sugar Merchant Doshi. She's a former journalist, lawyer, turned into an entrepreneur in the child space with Pinwheel Projects. And she's doing phenomenal. This book is amazing. It's about pretend play, and she truly believes that the most important value that we need to impart to our kids is confidence. And confidence can be achieved through communication, through reading the right books and pretend play. Exactly what she's spoken about in this book. She's mentioned more than 60 plus pretend play ideas, 10 activity boosters, and 100 book recommendations, books that we must read to our kids, because reading is important, but reading the right books to our kids is even more important. I absolutely love what Sugar has done, and would quickly like to bring Sugar on.
Hi, Riddhi.
Yes, hi, hi.
Hi,
I
hi. Thank you
absolutely
for having
love
me.
the book. It's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
I've
Thank
been
you.
using your concepts with my son, and
Thank
I've
you.
been seeing the difference in him. It's beautiful. And
Thank
some
you.
concepts are so beautiful that they actually took me back to my childhood days, like, those games like Teacher, Teacher,
Yeah.
and sending a letter to your child and encouraging them to do that.
Yes.
Beautiful. And
Mm.
let me quickly introduce
Yes.
everybody to our guest speaker for today. So, our guest speaker for today actually needs no introduction. She's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and she's the talented Indian actor. She's featured in movies like Rang De Basanti, Tum Mile, and Go Goa Gone. And she's beautiful. She's a mother to a beautiful daughter, and she's none other than Soha Ali Khan. And today she'll be discussing with us her views on parenting. So can we please have Soha on?
Hi everyone. Hi guys. Hi Shouger.
Hi. Hi.
Hi Soha. Yes, hi. So let's quickly start because I have so many questions for both of you and we have very little time. So without wasting any time, I'm going to quickly start asking questions. So Sugar, this one is for you. What really inspired you to write this book? What was the inspiration behind this book?
So, when I had my son Kian, I genuinely was thinking about what can I do as a parent, as all mothers do, think about what we can do, like promising life skills in them, or how can we really help them out? Because I didn't want to be the mother who would push him into doing one activity or another, or fit into this whole rat race of parenting, sending him from one class to another. I wanted to really think about how can I, as a parent, help him with his life skills. And then I thought about my childhood and I realized that I was a very voracious reader. I read a lot, I wrote a lot, and I genuinely enjoyed my reading and writing. I believed that verbally expressing yourself well was half the battle, if not the entire battle won. And I thought that that has propelled me to be successful, whether it was in college or university or in my career, or even for someone who's securing a job interview or a presentation or anything that a person really needs to do. They could use vocabulary, a good vocabulary, a rich vocabulary, and um, a good ability to basically speak, read, and write will basically take you through any job interview or any career goal that you have. So I thought that that's what I'd work on with my child, and I didn't want to do it in a very pedagogic format of sitting with him with worksheets and trying to make him write in a very school or formulaic way. So I thought, let me try and do it through play. And when I was doing these pretend play activities, which, like you said, all parents do, it's not rocket science, all of us are doing it in some way, shape, or form with our kids. This was just a more structured way of doing it so that I could inculcate or kind of introduce educational concepts, because you can bring in counting, you can bring in math, numbers, you can bring in shapes, colors, sizes, everything that you want to teach your child. You can pretty much put it in through pretend play and ensure that you're having great communication with them, which is according to me, 90% of, what I could do for my child. And in the future, what he needs to do and what his skill set shows, then that would be something that I would help him pursue. But what I can do at my end would just be to like basically give him the gift of a good vocabulary and this confidence that comes from being able to speak well, read well, and write well. I think that was something that, was a theme in my childhood. So I thought that let me try writing this book where I would talk about my activities or all the activities that are rather simple, but just kind of simplify them in a more structured format so that it's easier for parents to kind of pick it up and just go, rather than thinking, okay, what do I need for this? What do I need for that? Does my child really want to do doctor, teacher today? So then, and this just lays out all the educational benefits of pretend play, so that when you open the book, you're also reading that this is the best form of, there's a lot of research that pretend play, instigates your prefrontal cortex, and all the learning happens through play, whether it's emotional, social, creative disposition, all of it comes through play. So why not teach them through play rather than sit down with worksheets and, have that whole power struggle eliminated with your child? So that was the main inspiration for writing the book.
Right. And it's beautiful. I've been reading the book and trying these activities, and I love how you've structured it, like, what you need, how to prepare, how to play, and also mention what are the skills that they'll be learning after they're done playing. So it's very easy for parents to actually try these activities, which I love about your book. And Soha, thank you for joining us. And you're a beautiful woman and a beautiful mother. And I have some questions about parenting for you. So my first question to you, most of us, after we become a parent, we change, we see certain changes in us. Do you feel that you saw a change in yourself after you became a mother in terms of your preferences, in terms of your priorities?
I certainly feel, I wanted to be one of those parents that allows the child to naturally fall into your lifestyle. Everything should not change according to the baby. The baby should not be the center of your universe. But it was very difficult to do. And unfortunately, Inaya has become the center of my universe, and she knows it. I decided, I think, to have a baby later in life because I wanted to be very hands on. And I knew that my career, other priorities, which were also important to me, like traveling or studying or working, I wanted to do that with an equal amount of passion. And as a person, it may be a limitation. I've been quite single minded in my approach. When I do something, I sort of tend to fall in love with it and give it my all. I think it's a limitation because other things, I tend to ignore other things and other people. And so I decided to have a baby later in life because I knew that she would become my almost sole focus. And my challenge has been on working on myself and trying to make her a part of my life and not my entire life. It has been my personality from a very young age. But I, of course, have changed. As I said, my priorities have changed, and she is certainly at the top of the list. I think, when they say your heart is no longer a part of your body, anxiety levels, I don't think I've slept as peacefully as I used to before she was born. Sometimes I remember when I was in Sri Lanka once, I imagined her crying in the middle of the night. And I was like, it's obviously not possible. But when I hear a child crying, it sort of disturbs me. I can't listen to that sound in the kind of careless way I used to before, because, it resonates with me. So, I mean, things change. You can never go back to not being a parent. And that's quite scary because you see how vulnerable you are in so many ways.
Right. That is so beautiful. And it's so true that no matter where you go, they go with you. Once you become a parent, you always carry them. Like we go on a holiday, we say that, we want to go on a break, we want to go on a vacation, but we're always constantly thinking about them even on a holiday. Yeah. So yes, that is one thing that also happened with me. And my next question for you, Shouger, is that can you just tell us how can a parent sit with your book and go through the activity? How should they really go about it? Like, it's very easily explained, but I want the viewers to get a feel of it.
Sure. So the book is laid out in many different ways. It has 4 chapters which basically talk only about the pretend play activities, and they're basically broken up as per certain categories. So one of them is more related to like DIYs and craft activities, of course, with the whole pretend play aspect. But one of them focuses more heavily on that. The another chapters focuses on kidpreneurs, so more of like, your child more hosting like a lemonade stand or an ice cream bar or a donut shop or being a chef, whereas another category focuses on a conversation booster. So it has more along the lines of like a treasure hunt or an art auction or a calendar station or weatherman and things like that. And then the fourth one is your make believe. So it's basically your doctor and your office, and your pretending to be a construction worker or pretending to be pretending to be a detective and things like that. So that is covered in the 4th chapter. So that's how it's broken up. A lot of the activities have an age, a recommended age as well. And more than anything, I think there's also like a chapter that kind of talks about how to do it, because it's not just let's just bring all these materials, put it together and make this tent and now we're done and that's done. It's actually, the whole process is you can create these reading and writing opportunities. So if you're doing the art auction and the theme is, say, animals, then you can actually read up about animals. What are the different kinds of mammals, reptiles, amphibians? What is the baby kangaroo called? Or like, anything. You can just create opportunities to impart knowledge and have that conversation. Read a book about whatever you're doing the activity on, and ask them to find the materials, kind of let them lead that aspect where they can kind of come up with their own ideas of how to build it or draw it or write it, either which way, whatever the activity demands. So the process is very, it's more like it's a structured pretend play. So it's laid out that way so that you can help yourself and your child kind of get to the end goal. But the bottom line is not what it looks like at the end of it. Like my editor told me when we were discussing the book at the very beginning, she said, this is what I want to convey to everybody, is that it's like making the world's messiest cake and most not so tasteful cake, but just having so much fun making it. So the end process is just not important. That's why there's no pictures in the book, because whatever you make or your child makes is the best version. And whatever but it's the whole process, and that process of conversation and communication is going to make a difference and impact your child, not the actual art and craft of it or the actual end product rather.
Right. That's so beautiful, and I feel that is very, very nice that you not put pictures, because I feel that as parents we're always striving to get perfect, or we get very competitive. I think it's
we'll copy the picture. We'll say we have to get it exactly as it is in the book.
Right. Yes, I just love how deeply you've thought about it. That's actually very beautiful. So what are your views on pretend play, and do you do that a lot with your daughter Inaya?
She loves it. I don't know when it started, and whether it was something that I encouraged, but I do know that it's her favorite thing to do in the day, which is why it was so natural for me to want to be a part of this discussion today, because it's something that truly resonates with me and something that I appreciate, because one of the things that we struggle with is coming up with ideas, because often she has her favorites, but sometimes she'll say, what do you want to do? And it can be very exhausting to also pretend play. It's not always fun for the parent. It's fun for the child, but sometimes it can be tiring playing with a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old, when you just want to watch TV instead and let them be by themselves. So I think that when you have something that is so beautifully structured, something that gives you the idea, something that tells you what materials to prepare, it falls into place, and it has a kind of loose structure to it, which means that you actually go through it in a way where you are achieving something without the not only the effort, but also without actually the effort and organization, and like it's effortless. You're not trying to do anything. You're not trying to reach an end goal, but you're getting there sort of naturally. And again, I take my cues from Inaya, because now, of course, she's going to online school. She's doing a number of classes. And whenever we finish something that is formal education, she says, I say, what do you want to do? And she says, let's play. And I said, why do you enjoy playing so much? And she said, because, I don't have to learn something. And I think that's the best form of imparting learning, is when the child doesn't even realize that you're making them sit down with a pencil. And then, I was sort of course, didn't want to burst a bubble and say, you're learning so much. because I can see how her vocabulary has improved. Things like empathy, because at least with my child, who's 3, will be 4 soon, she often just wants to be one character. She doesn't want to be a boy. She doesn't want to be, the mean character. Sometimes she doesn't want to be the character that speaks a lot because, she's not that confident. Even when it's just her and me in a room, she'll say, I'm shy. I'll be the dog who doesn't have to say anything, you know. And slowly, with a little bit of encouragement, I can see how her confidence has increased, how her empathy has increased, her ability to put herself in the shoes of so many different characters and live their lives. Of course, her numeracy skills, her literacy skills. And as I said, and again, this, I connect with Shouger on this in that communication. I see how my ability to communicate has taken me far in life.
Right.
And I do want to encourage that in Anaya as well. I do feel that apart from what you know, your ability to talk to people and connect with them, and it's a very crass way of putting it, and I can put it with more finesse, but I can't right now. The ability to sell yourself,
Right.
in a way, is something that I see very intelligent people lacking, and I do think that somewhere it holds them back.
Right.
So those things that people don't emphasize a lot on, and a lot of our educational systems also don't emphasize on that. I think that those things are facilitated by books like, The Power of Make Believe and by Pretend Play.
Right. No, that's very, very beautifully mentioned. And one thing that I really believe in is that it's not about how much you know, it's how much you can help with whatever little you know. And that would only happen if you could effectively communicate whatever it is that you know. So, and the reason why I also agreed to moderate this is because I really strongly believe in pretend play. And I really believe that the best form of learning is through play. Kids should not really know that they're being taught, and that's when they best learn. So that's
Right.
very beautiful. And one very important thing that I read in your book is that your child is sleeping from 7:30 in the evening till 7:30 in the morning. So what is it
Yeah.
that you're doing? What's the magic that you're doing
So
to make that happen?
many of my friends constantly ask me, what is the secret sauce? How do you manage this? And I continuously tell people that it has literally been early adoption of a very strict routine. And while I firmly believe in a routine, while I don't want to overly schedule so that I stifle his creativity, at the same time, I also believe that a routine really helps a child. It not only helps them to know what's coming next and to be more secure, and they know what to expect, and it just eliminates the power struggles and the negotiation that you can have as to bedtime or bath time and all of that. So if there's a routine that you're following, it has to be early adoption. I've been doing this since the time he was 1, and he's just always slept at that time, so he's not had an option unless it's a weekend and then he's sleeping over with us, or we're watching a movie or something. That's something that we allow him to kind of stay up for. But otherwise, he has a bedtime and he knows about it, and he climbs into his bed. Of course, now because he's older, it wasn't so easy when he was younger. But it has just been the establishment of a routine. And I think to a large extent, the whole, we do read, as both of you, I'm sure, do as well. You read before bedtime. We do read to him. We have a whole structured way of reading to him and winding down and downtime and all of that. And apart from that, I also think the whole adoption of pretend play from the time he was 3.5 till now, we do one activity a week. So he gets to think and talk about that activity the whole week. Because as working parents, which both my husband and I are, we get only the mornings and the evenings with him. So for us, that time is quality time. It's not, I always say it's the quality and not the quantity of time that really determines, parenting. Because you're parenting 24 hours a day, no matter where you are in the city or in the world. But basically, in terms of like the little time that you do get to really make it count, I feel that the whole process of pretend play has genuinely helped, because he's so excited to go to the next activity. It was one big thing for him that, okay, now we're doing this today, we're going to do this tomorrow, I can't wait, let me go to bed and wake up early. And I actually, from the time he was 1.5 till 4, I have been telling him a made up story which has never ended. So there was one chapter every single night and the story never ended. So he was very excited to find out what happened, and he knew he would only find out the next day at bedtime. So it was a silly story with 2 animals. I don't know how I came up with it, and I would just keep making it up for 2.5 years. And then once he was 4, I realized I need to stop the story because it's been going on for really long. And that's when I started pretend play with him. So that, and literally, it's a good routine. and good books, and that's literally, there's no secret sauce to it, literally.
I feel the secret is your personal discipline as a parent. For I feel that, to get them into bed on time, we also need that discipline. Because with me, what happens if I go with him, he'll go to bed. If I don't, then it takes me a lot of time to actually put him to bed. So, yes, of course, that's there. And so, my next question for you, Soha, is that, like as parents, we really influence our kids. And this is a question that I get a lot from my parents in my tribe, is that in a joint family, like, it could be sometimes very difficult to really bring up your child the way you would like to bring up your child. So how do you feel, like, what is the impact of a parent on the child when you are raising a child in a joint family setup? Because you might really want to discipline your child, but there are people around you who might not want to do it the same way.
I feel like I'm going to get into trouble when I answer this question with my mother, my in-laws, with everybody else. But let's assume they're not watching. And, of course, I feel I'm the best influence on my child. Of course, and nobody can convince me otherwise. But my mother sat me down and said that, she has to be exposed to other influence. She has to become her own person. She's certainly not, hopefully, going to be a reflection of you. And look at the way she looks at you. There's so much, she's looking for your approval all the time. You may not recognize it, but she's constantly watching you. Should I eat this? Am I allowed to do it? Even now, she knows. Like the other day when, Kunal came home after 25 days in Ladakh, and she said, Papa, let's eat ice cream, and immediately looked at me. I was sort of like feeling guilty that, like, he's also a parent. He should be allowed to make some rules. But she knows that I'm who sets, at least in terms of bedtime and nutrition, I'm the one who's the lawmaker. Of course, the older they become, the other people, the grandparents and, uncles, aunts will come, and they're not going to, I'm the youngest person in my family. My mother and my in-laws aren't going to listen to me beyond a point in terms of, what they should feed their grandchild. They also have a right. So I understand that I have to take a back seat at certain times. I have told them, and everybody knows because I'm very open about how I feel in terms of refined sugar, healthy food. Bedtime is a given. No matter where we are in the world, 7:30, the lights are out. Nobody else is in that room, and Inaya is in that bed. That doesn't matter. And I will fight with everybody to maintain that. Food, I understand now because she speaks for herself. I mean, if there's going to be cake on the table, I cannot take it away from her. And I need her to now make conscious choices herself. She, even when she's away from me, should know that she should eat something that is healthy, and she should eat things that are unhealthy once in a while. I need her to know from within. I can't be the person to enforce that all the time. And that is now the way that I'm moving forward. So it is difficult. The lockdown has been helpful because we've spent a lot of time alone, and I've managed to have her to myself to, do whatever I can. And now I sort of hand her over to the world as the lockdown eases. But I do think it takes a community to bring up a child. It's not just her. And it is quite arrogant of me to think that I know the best, although I still maintain that I know what is best for her. But I have been told that other people can also fruitfully contribute to her upbringing. So,
Right. No, it's actually very nice that you believe that you know the best, because I feel that when you are very confident as a parent, you actually raise a very confident child. Because sometimes when we start doubting ourselves and we doubt that, I'm not doing good enough for my child, that's also a problem area. So, yes, it's good to be actually confident about what you're doing with your child, because that is actually going to reflect in her personality eventually.
but you have to make a distinction between confidence and being controlling.
Yes, yes, of course. You cannot.
A lot of people just want to control, and I myself have been guilty of that, whereby I have to reflect and take a step back and understand that this is coming from me wanting my child to listen to me, and I must sometimes listen to her.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
And you made that clear when you said that you want her to make her decisions consciously, which means that you're not like a controlling parent.
But I want her to make the decision that I agree with.
Don't we all?
Yes. So my next question for you, Shouger, is that you've spoken very beautifully about some conflicting situations, like, which you see, like, mostly parents go through with their kids, like bathing, kids not doing their homework. And you've also recommended a few hacks to actually get them to do these things without
Yeah.
going through a lot of trouble. So if you could just share some tips with us.
So honestly, parenting is just so much about various processes because everything has a process. Bath time is a process. Meal time, you have to get certain things ready. You want to make sure that there's no maida, there's no sugar, there's no this, there's no that. This everything is a process. So just sometimes we're so bogged down with the processes that we kind of forget to enjoy the moments. So just to make those high conflict situations like not wanting to do homework or not wanting to go for a bath or just like throwing a tantrum because you're not getting what you want, all of those not so fun situations that we all go through as parents with our young kids, especially toddlers. It's just to make those moments more fun. So I just I came up with a few hacks because my child did not like to go for a bath for the longest time, and I said I have to come up with fun ways to get him interested in having a bath. So I came up with some fun things which I listed in the book, which kind of helped him overcome that whole phobia of him not wanting to have a bath in about a few weeks of trying these different hacks. So that helped him. So I said, let me list it in the book. It's not a universal guide or, it may not help everybody, but it did help my son. So I said, let me list it. And then, of course, even with homework was always a struggle because I have a son and my child wants to run around or, do anything that's more stimulating to his senses than homework. So, but that is a part of his life, and that's a part of school life, and that's something that he does have to do. So, in that aspect, I tried to find things to do, things that would make the homework part more fun. So, I listed some of those. So, you have to read the book to read all of those hacks, but they are just things that worked for me that I listed. But in general, the high conflict situations arise because we take them very, very seriously as parents. And I feel like if we chill out a little bit about them and just understand that, look, they're kids, they don't understand, they don't know that this is really required, that you have to do the homework, you have to do, XYZ number of things, you have to know a few things to pass to the next grade. And then that's going to take you on in life. The whole trajectory isn't very apparent to them at this age, and neither should it be. So to explain that to them and have this communication and also make things a little bit more fun is where I feel the high conflict situations can become little less lower conflict situations.
Right.
So that's how
And
I would
it's
address
beautiful that
it.
you mentioned that you've spoken about your experience, and it might not work, because I think kids are very unpredictable. So whatever we have to try different things with them.
But also,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not an expert at parenting, right? Like none of us are. We're all winging it one
Yeah.
day at a time as mothers. And I don't think, and even the book in the very first chapter, I clearly say that I'm not an expert and that I have only listed things that have worked for me. And if they work for you, then that's great. And if you choose to do the pretend play activities in this structured format, and if you find merit in it, then that's great. But they're not universal rules for parenting because there really can't be. It's such a personal thing, and there just isn't like a universal guide that says you need to do this to be the best parent, and your child is definitely going to be all rounded if you do XYZ or hit these milestones and all of that. I don't necessarily believe in any of that. So it's just like literally moments that you can make count with the tiny human at home is the reason I've written the book. And it's not some universal guide. It's just to help moms out who, like Soha said, like sometimes you're tired, you've come home from a rough day at work, and you just don't want to think, okay, he or she wants to do pretend play. What can I think of? What should I remove? Where are the materials? Sometimes you just don't want to think about it, and you may be superbly creative, but you don't want to sit and think about it because you're exhausted from your own, whatever you've got going on in your life. So this book just makes it easier for you to kind of pull out the books that you should read. I've listed, books that I think cover a vast number of topics that one would want to talk about with their child. And of course, the pretend play activities, just so that it makes your life easier.
That's right. No, and this is very true that, it's very difficult to think what to do, and it's not very difficult to actually do it. I feel it's the same with, deciding the meals. It's so difficult to decide what to make, but it's not very difficult to actually make what you want to eat. So I
Yeah.
think it's and actually a lot of parents in my community are actually struggling with this because kids always come up to you and they're like, I want to do something. What should I do? What should I do? So,
Yeah.
if they have these ideas listed, it's so easy for parents to actually decide what they can do. So you've actually done so work for so many parents out there. You've really
Let's hope.
simplified their life in so many ways. And I
And
had one more
thing
question.
about
Yes.
the book and also pretend play is that your imagination is unlimited, and
Yes.
from a young age, if you introduce your child to the concept of pretend, then you can play anywhere. You can play in a 5-hour car journey. If you're driving somewhere, you
Yes.
just need your face and your body and your hands and anything around you, and you imagine. And from a young age, we used to do that with Inaya, which is why today, if we don't have what is required, she'll pick up something that, she'll pick up a book and say, imagine it's a balloon. And you,
Yeah.
so I think that ability to imagine and think out of the box and be creative is something that if you encourage from a young age, that sort of word boredom, you'll be able to fend that off.
Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
also, when you give them too much information, I feel that information vaporizes, but stories always stay with you. I think pretend play is more like a story that you're telling yourself every day. So I
Absolutely.
remember I did like a picnic setup in my balcony with my son almost a year back. And just like a few weeks back, we had good weather, so I was doing a picnic setup again for him in the balcony, and he remembered exactly what we had done
Yeah.
like 1 year back. And he was like, where are the sandwiches? I was like, what sandwich? He's like, remember last time we took sandwiches for the picnic? So they remember a lot of information once you make it more fun. So that's there. Also, one beautiful thing that you've spoken about in your book, Shouger, is like postpartum depression, and how
Yeah.
can mothers really go through it. So if you could just slightly touch upon it.
So I was, that was a chapter where I was writing about mom truths and mom myths. And I literally said that there's so many of these mom myths that, you need to breastfeed for a certain number of years or months. And that's only when your child is going to get good immunity. And, you need to do this and you need to do that. And all of these things that I was hearing even when I was pregnant, and was like adding so much pressure to a new mom. And I felt like none of those are true. And I did some research, which I even mentioned in the book, where none of those myths are really true. So I just tried to bust them a little bit. And then there was some mom truths which I feel people just don't tell you when you're pregnant or when you have your child. Nobody tells you that postpartum is not just something that's going to happen to a few people who choose to talk about it. It happens to every single person. There is no one who can tell you they haven't gone through some kind of depression or some kind of feeling low moments, because all of a sudden your life isn't yours anymore and it belongs to your child, and your entire schedule and life and your day is based on this little human that you don't even know yet, apart from breastfeeding them. So literally it is a whole change. It's a 360 change in your life, especially if you were used to a fast paced working life prior to having your child. It is a complete difference. So anyone who says that they haven't gone through it, and I don't mean clinical depression, I just mean
Yes.
going
Some
through a
sort
low
of.
phase of, you're just suddenly, it's such a big change that your body, your mind, everything goes through, that I felt like not enough people spoke about it. So I just wanted to touch upon it. It's not what the book is about, but I just wrote that it is a rite of passage, and I feel that almost every mother goes through some kind of feeling low moments, and talking about it, and obviously speaking about it openly kind of helps other mothers to move along, and deal with it correctly.
Right, right, right. Yes, that's so true. And Soha, so the next question for you, and most of my questions are actually questions from parents, is what is your view on co-sleeping?
I have not spent a single night with my daughter.
Neither have I.
With my daughter.
With my son.
I have not, and I don't. I mean, there are times when I want to, and I want to cuddle her, and I watch her on the camera when she's asleep, and my husband is constantly saying, "Inaya, come to our bed in the morning," and all sorts of things. I'm just whacking him on the head with the pillow and saying, "Don't give her these ideas." And she's fully asking now. When I turn off the light, she says, "Lie down in bed with me for 5 minutes." I get bad dreams at night when you leave. Are you not comfortable in my bed? She's never once asked to sleep in my bed. I don't know when that will happen, but at the
Right.
moment she wants me to sleep in her bed.
Right.
And I'm very clear, and I'm always say no. And sometimes it takes 15 minutes longer, 7:30, and then I'm in and out of that door till 7:45. But I keep saying no, no. I'll come. I'll give you another kiss. I'll give you another blessing. Whatever. But usually, and then because as Shouger said, we've been doing this from a very young age. She knows that there's certain things that they're battles she's not going to win, and there's certain battles that she may win. But when it comes to having, like, she has a bath at 7 and 7:30 lights out, she knows that that's going to happen, and it has happened every single night. So, unless she comes up with, hires a lawyer and comes up with a different strategy, then, it's something that
Right.
I'm very clear on, because there are nights where I'm not there, where I'm traveling. There are nights when I'm shooting nights. I need her to be without me, and I
Right.
need to be without her. I will
Yeah,
function better in the day. And so,
absolutely.
I think she thinks I go away at 7:30 and I come back in the morning. I don't know where she thinks I go.
Right.
And again, she's young compared to your children. There will be a time where, and I don't want to jinx it. She's never opened the door of her room after 7:30 to come out to see what is happening. She assumes that the world goes to sleep when she does. She does still think
Exactly.
that. And there will be a time where she will see that that doesn't happen. What I've managed to do is, for example, because we can watch television and she can't in the week, I used to hide and watch television. Now I watch television in front of her and I say, this is something that I can do, but something that you can't do. You can do it on the
Yeah.
weekend. And now she's understood that. Maybe that's what I'll have to do, obviously, when she starts opening doors and coming out and she sees, hey, my mother's not actually sleeping in her bed. But I will cross that bridge when I come to it. But at the moment, I am against co-sleeping. It's cute, it's great, it's lovely, it's cuddly. I know that
Right.
there'll be a time where she won't want to co-sleep, and people say you'll miss out on that phase. And it's, but I
Yeah.
haven't slept a night with her apart from being on flights where I've, slept next to her. Those are the only times I've spent nights with her.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
I
agree
think it's
with
all about,
what Soha says. I think I totally agree, because it's not just that, okay, you're going out, maybe you're going out with your friends, or you're going out at night, or you're going out to dinner. You may just be at home, but you need your downtime. I mean, that's your time to, like, I tell my son, I'm like, this is adult time now. I gave you all my whole evening, my morning, and I gave my work, my day. So now it's time for me to hang with Papa, and it's time for us to get adult time. So whether we're home or we're going out, we're just going to be, doing our thing, and that's time for you, right? Like, you need to unwind. So I think communication is always, the way, and they do understand that at the
Yeah.
end of the day you need your time too, and that's your time to do things that they're not allowed to do, like see television, for example. Yeah.
right. And I think it's all about parent-child training, like how you train them, they get used to it. And there's no right or wrong to it. I think it's a very personal thing that a parent decides to do with their child. Like, just like we toilet train them. I think, you can actually train them for every single thing. If you're a working mother, if you need to step out, I think it's very important to actually let them know in advance that this is what is needed for you to be comfortable in my absence. So I think that's great, actually. And the next question that I have so many questions. We are running out of time, but I'm picking the ones which are important. And so, my next question, that you've really spoken about something that I truly resonate with, is vocabulary. I feel it's so important. And I've been doing, 5 new words with my son since he was 3 months old. And I'm seeing the benefit now, because everything becomes very, very easy if you can actually improve their vocabulary. Reading becomes
Yes.
very faster, because when you teach them phonics, when they blend, they know what the word is, because
Yeah.
they've already been introduced to the word before. So if you could just tell us about these vocabulary boosters that you have mentioned in your book.
So again, I mean, very similarly, I realized a really long time ago that having this, like a good lexicon of, like, words that you can kind of throw out to explain yourself and express yourself is so important to build at a young age. And books are one big, definite way of doing it. But apart from that, I do remember when I was growing up, I did a lot of my mom, who was my main literary inspiration and would constantly make me read new authors and new books, also used to maintain this good words and good phrases file with me. So anything that we found sounded really beautiful, we would write it down. So that's something I started. I mean, I've listed in the book 10, 12 different ones that we do together, but this one is a big one because it also helps him to improve his writing skills, which is something that we're working on for a while now. So it just helps overall to know a word, is to write a word, is to read a word. So anything that he hears that he really likes the sound of and he asks me for the meaning, I say write it down. You never know when you could use it. So the good words and phrases thing was something that kind of stuck with me, that my mom did with me as a child. But also I came across, when I was researching for the book and I was researching on pretend play, I also came across a few studies that indicated that basically there was this very popular study that was carried out that indicated that when your child is, say, 2 to 3 years old, it's the quantity of words that are really impactful for them. But as they grow, it's the quality of words that really impact them. So from 3 to, say, 4.5, it's really the quality and the exposure. So where you take them, parental expressions and words that we're using in our day-to-day vocabulary also impact them, and they'll ask you for the meaning, and then they get to use it in pretend play. So I read this study and I realized it's not the quantity. Over time, it's really the quality. So the better the words and phrases that you can impart to your child through play or through books, they will have a richer vocabulary. And definitely, I mean, I think a richer vocabulary helps you with everything. It builds your confidence. It gives you self-reliance, and just that thing of, like, being able to walk into a room and knowing that you can speak with 20 people or 50 people and you're not going to shy away with, say, your child playing with an older child. They're going to be able to comprehend what they're saying without shying away or not understanding what they're saying if they have a good vocabulary at hand. There's just so many advantages of it that I feel like it's the gift that just keeps giving if you can just do that. If I could do one thing for my child, it would be that.
Right.
So that's what
so beautifully put. And actually, I also got introduced to this concept, like, when I became a mother, and I read something very beautiful, that the only way to upgrade your child's vocabulary is to upgrade your vocabulary.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we are talking to them, and we say that the food is so good. So, and that actually, that article mentioned that instead of just saying that the food is so good, you could say, like, the food is so tasty, it's so yummy, it's so delicious. So, every time you're talking about the same thing, you try and throw in a new word, and it becomes very easy for them to actually learn those new words. So very beautiful, and I love how we resonate at so many levels, like, pretend play, vocabulary, and definitely
I
this
think
book
they're all
is,
also kind of interrelated. And in
yes.
fact, even with vocabulary, there's actually research that shows a huge nexus with people who have a good vocabulary with higher educational goals and higher achievement rates. So all of the moms who, like, all of us as mothers, we're all guilty of it, where we're all like, we hear these things that, oh, this is going to be a brain boosting activity. Let's go, let's buy it, or let's do it, or let's enroll our child in it. I mean, the best way is really to read and or talk to them with, in with your higher vocabulary, and that's really, how you can help your child in their early years, because from age 2 to 7 is a huge age of, improving your cognitive processes. It's where the maximum brain development happens. So if you can do it at this age, it's ideal.
Right. Okay, so one question for Soha. Like, Soha, this one could be a little, I don't know, difficult. But if you were to describe yourself as a mother in 3 words, what 3 words would you pick for yourself?
Good grief. Oh, God, I don't know. Tired. Impatient.
Coffee hungry mom.
Full of regret. So, sometimes I'm like, oh God, why did I yell at her? And I'm feeling so guilty. And how can I make it up to her? It's very difficult to come up with 3. But I would say that I am trying my best is 3 words.
Right. Wow.
I'm trying my best.
Right. That's beautiful, actually. And so this is the last one for you, Sugar. Like, why do you think parents should really get your book? How will they really benefit? Like, we've spoken about it in depth, but if you were to tell them in a few words, why should they really get this book, and how is it really going to benefit them? How would you actually do it?
So again, I think I think about the book differently. I really think about it like literally, all of us are doing this anyway. All of us are doing pretend play. We're all reading to our kids. This is just a more structured way of kind of looking at it. So when you're looking at pretend play, here is an exhaustive list of everything that you need. Items are mentioned, the skills that you engender through each activity are mentioned. And of course, you do it as per your child's preference. So you don't have to do every single activity in the book. It's listed as per preference. There could be some that resonate more with a girl. There could be some that resonate more with a boy. There could be some that resonate more with a 2-year-old and some with a 7-year-old. So it's just based on really wanting to spend time with your child, but not having the ideal format of how to spend time with your child in the few hours that you do get in the day, and just to make it count and kind of give them edutainment, which is what I say, rather than just entertainment. Rather, you would want to introduce some school concepts, some more educational, maybe some vocabulary, maybe some math. You can introduce, shape, sizes, anything pretty much through play. So that's the reason for the pretend play part of it. But the books list, I feel like, is segregated by topics. And I think that's one of the reasons that that every parent should get the book, is because I put a lot of effort into curating this books list of 120 or 150 books that I do recommend reading. And again, they're just books because I feel like books can really help you through all situations in life. So there's certain books for, for example, nannies come in and out of our lives, and we're adults and we know this, but there are books that teach your child about separation from a nanny. So I've listed some of those books. There's some books where could help your child through a bullying situation in school. There's some books which can explain cultural diversity or racial diversity, or having a friend in a class who has 2 dads or 2 moms. There's so much that can be taught through books, which sometimes are difficult conversations for us, which we would have anyway. How babies are made. I mean, this is something that's a difficult conversation to have, but the book explains it really well and really subtly, but still well. So these are all things that you can discuss with your child through a particular book, which I find makes a parent's job a little easier. So when you read the book and then communicate about it, so that's another reason I think that parents should buy the book.
Right. And it's so true, because just today I was talking to Ina, and I was inspired by the book, and we were just having a conversation where I was asking her questions and looking for her to contribute towards the answers and problem solving. So I said, what if there are 2 children who are fighting? How would you get them to stop fighting? Yeah. And she said, you could read them a story about it. And that's as much as she said, but I just understood, and because we do read often together, that telling a story and the recall of that and the interest in that and the edutainment, again, values of that are very, very strong. So I'm really appreciative of the book list that you've curated, Shouger, because I think that there are millions and billions of books, but finding the right book, because often you pick up a book and then you don't read it yourself, and you're reading it to your child, and as you read it to your child, you realize that this is not the book that you want to read to your child. You must read that yourself first, and vet it like you should with any kind of TV show as well. So it's great to have a list that is already vetted and curated by you.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that would be one of the reasons that a lot of parents would resonate with the book as well, because literally it covers a lot of ground. So, and it took me 2 years to kind of read and curate. So I think that's one of the reasons, in addition to pretend play and everything that it has to offer, that the book list is something that would definitely help, any mom, even a mom who reads excessively like Soha. So
and even if I could add that this book should be read not just by mothers, but certainly by fathers as well, who often don't know how to play with children. I think they do, but they just don't push themselves often. And they're like, it's quite boring to play with a child. And, they want to do the same thing again and again. Yes. And, I'm not saying mothers do. Some mothers also struggle, and some fathers struggle. Some grandparents don't know. Aunts and people who come and play with your child. It's helpful because it gives them scenarios to enact. Yes. So it's very, very useful.
Right. It's beautiful, actually, what you've done, and the curation of the entire list is amazing, because now we don't just get your book, we get 100 books after your book. We have this whole list of books that we have to get now. But it's really true that, sometimes when you're reading the book, like Soha mentioned, like it's happened with me, that I'm reading the book and then I'm reading something and I'm like, no, wait, I don't want to tell Veer this. I'm going to change the story a little. And then I tell him my version of the story. So it's so
Yeah.
important to actually get the right book.
Yeah.
And so my final question for you is that if you had to leave a message for the audience who's watching this and they'll be watching this later, one message for the parents, what would that be?
Buy this book.
No, that's my message to the audience. You want a different one from you.
I would just say that, it is the quality of time that you get to spend with your children. So, make the time, put in the energy and make it fun, because these are really precious moments, and they won't be, everything is a phase and it's over before you know it. And then they grow up and they'll be playing with other people. So, while you have them, play with them and, um, enjoy that time.
Right, right. Beautiful. So basically, make a lot of memories with your kids and
Yes.
have fun for as long as it lasts.
Yes.
And yes, and this is one very deep concept that you've mentioned, that make memories, because that is the only thing that's going to bring your child back to you eventually. Because this
Yeah.
world is, full of distractions and there's so much happening. So if you really want your child to be your child eventually, you have to create a lot of memories. And I feel stories are the best way to do that. Create a lot of stories with your kids. So thank you so much, Sugar. Thank you so much, Soha, for your time. It was wonderful hosting you both and having this conversation. I truly loved it. And I want to thank Crossword Bookstore and Penguin India for organizing this event. And for all of you watching this and who really feel that the book resonates with your philosophy as a parent, we're going to put the link in the comment section below. So just click on the link and you can buy this book. You must get it. I've been in the parenting space for really long and I absolutely love the book. I love that you've actually spoken about your experience as a mother, because when you speak from your experience can actually be common to so many other mothers. That's how I started. I started writing about my experience and I realized what I was going through, so many mothers were going through the same. And that's when they start resonating with you. So congratulations to you, Sugar, for your book
Thank you
launch.
so
And I'm
much,
sure
Riddhi.
it's
And
amazing. You
thank
put
you,
in so
Soha,
much
for being a
effort.
part of this.
Not
Yes.
at all. Congratulations on the book, and I wish it lots of success.
Thank
And it's
you.
always fun to talk about, children and parenting.
Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.